America's going to send Ukraine the supplies they need to keep them in the fight. This weekend, the reports of cheers breaking out of the trenches. This bill also includes vital support for Israel. My commitment to Israel, I want to make clear again, is ironclad. This bill includes $1 billion for additional humanitarian aid in Gaza, and Israel must make sure all this aid reaches the Palestinians in Gaza without delay.
That's President Biden speaking after signing the $95 billion foreign aid package into law, touting the more than $60 billion going to Ukraine. The Pentagon says a weapons package worth $1 billion is already on its way to Kyiv. The package also includes the law which will force TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to sell the app or face a ban in the United States. But the Biden campaign's TikTok account is still active. Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Richard McCormick, member of the House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committees and the GOP Doctors Caucus. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. Your reaction to the bill now law, this $95 billion foreign aid package with still no security at the border.
That's the biggest travesty of all. He's ignoring the will of the people. Quite frankly, I would love to have seen H.R. 2 included in this, and we had border security codified. It wasn't, obviously. Speaker Johnson didn't think it would be included and passed. But if you think about what he's not doing, caring more about foreign countries than he does about his own country, ignoring the will of the people, not securing the wall, not securing our border agents to not process and bring them in, but actually turn people away that are trying to come here illegally, invading our country. 20 congressional districts worth of people coming here, not to pay taxes, not to work, but to consume and to get voter privileges. Essentially, even though they can't vote, they get representation. That is absolutely absurd. We need to call him out on it. Clinton and Obama ran on border security. Trump did a fantastic job of codifying the laws that actually, by executive order, remain in Mexico, completing the wall. Biden has ignored those things and absolutely could secure the border just with a snap of his finger. He doesn't even need a new law, but he doesn't care. He wants to warp the future of America.
Yeah, we're all trying to figure out, we were talking during the commercial break, why and how it's possible that the leader of the free world is completely just refusing to put any new security at the border. Why? Why would he do this? Now he claims that he wanted the Senate border deal to be included in the foreign aid package. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre continues to downplay the impact of any executive order that could come out of the White House. Watch this.
There's one thing this bill does not do: border security. I proposed and negotiated and agreed to the strongest border security bill this country has ever seen. It should have been included in this bill.
No executive action is actually going to do what that border security plan would have done.
Congressman, your thoughts?
It would be laughable if it wasn't so sad and what he's doing to his country. Literally, the same laws that existed back during Clinton and Obama and Trump that were securing the border, where you could deport people, still exist today. He is ignoring those things. And to this joke that the Senate had some sort of strong bill that was going to help secure the border is a joke. It started at 5.5 million people coming across the border. Then we'll decide if we want to do something, which we know he ignores anyways. This is an absurd trying to spin on what the Senate was sending our way. That was not a compromise. Yeah. That was a giveaway. That was the weakest bill on securing the border ever.
Yeah, well, he's trying hard to blame Republicans, despite the fact that he's been in place for 3 years in the Oval Office and hasn't done anything except make the border wide open. Jonathan, jump in here, because when President Trump dealt with the border, he had deals in place. He and Mike Pompeo and others did negotiations with those countries, Mexico, Guatemala. I mean, they had deals in place, and President Biden came into the Oval Office and reversed all of it.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there's plenty he could do, and all he really has to do is what was done before. But I think we all know, and I think Congressman McCormick, said it is, this is for political reasons. They see this as a political benefit, and they've campaigned on it. But I think your point is good, Congressman, that even if you passed even H.R. 2, there's no reason. Is there any reason to think President Biden would enforce this any more than he's enforcing the current law, because I don't see any reason to think so. He just wants it as a campaign issue this year. How do you see this playing out?
That's exactly what this is, a campaign issue. He wants to make sure that he's not blamed for what he created. That's the irony of all of this. He wants to pretend like it's Congress's fault that we haven't secured the border, when all he has to do is snap his fingers and it's done. I would love to codify H.R. 2, which we passed over a year ago. It's been sitting in the Senate, that's never been passed, and they want to talk about pretending to take the border seriously. We know that if they thought these people were coming across the border to go to Republican districts and vote Republican, that they would be outraged of the fentanyl deaths that we had, the 110,000 people that died, or the rapes of 70% of the women who come across the border, or the child trafficking, or all the other horrors that are happening to these people. They don't care about that. They care about shifting the demographics in the 2030 census so that California, Illinois, and New York pick up congressional seats that they lost because of the migration of people who actually are paying taxes and working to those conservative areas of the nation.
By the way, we're looking on the left side of our screen here, Congressman, a shot of President Trump meeting with construction workers in New York City. Of course, President Trump has to be in court all day long, so he's choosing 6:30 in the morning to do a press conference before he actually has to be in court to speak with people outside in New York City. It's here, he's downtown right now, and he's talking with construction workers. But the point is President Trump has to be in a courtroom while President Biden is campaigning. Trump has this gag order in place. Lee, isn't it interesting that this is going to be the split screen until the election? Trump in a courtroom, Biden going and campaigning and attacking Trump. You know, people see right through this, by the way.
They really do. I think so many people think that this is politically motivated. They look at Donald Trump and they see what he's saying in these moments. He's making every opportunity that he can count. Yeah. And I think it's absolutely, I think, staggering to people who support Biden. They can't understand, how does Trump keep gaining momentum when all of this is happening? They talk about him in such a way that they just don't get it. But when you talk to working class Americans, 85% of them think that Donald Trump cares about people like them. And it's moments like this where he goes out and is talking to workers at 6:30 in the morning that make them believe that.
Congressman, what is your assessment here? This is President Trump outside. He's actually outside the J.P. Morgan building in New York. That's in Midtown Manhattan before he's got to go into the courtroom downtown. Congressman.
Sorry. Yeah, if you can say nothing else about Trump, he is indomitable and he has an energy that nobody else. We talk about people's age and Biden, watching him slow down, his cognitive decline. Trump is as sharp as he ever was. He brings the energy. He's out there actually doing what he can with a corrupt Department of Justice working against him. These charges are insane, especially in New York. This case specifically needs to be, all these different trumped up charges should be dismissed, and we need to get on with the election. They're trying to warp the election because that's their only hope against the worst president we've ever had in the United States nation, especially on border security.
Wow. Well, President Biden, meanwhile, picked up an endorsement from the North American Building Trade Union yesterday. Biden spoke with union workers at a Washington conference, and he claimed that Trump doesn't share the same values as hardworking Americans. Watch this. He is trying to attack Trump, and President Biden posted this on X. He plans to let the Trump-era tax cuts expire, claiming that they only benefit the wealthy. Congressman, what is your take on this in terms of the tax cuts about to expire if Joe Biden gets his way, on top of an economy that is questionable? We're waiting for the GDP numbers this morning, but if we see these tax plans expire and then see President Biden's plans to raise taxes by $5.5 trillion, doesn't that impact an economy that's wavering?
Two things on this. First of all, raising taxes, the corporate taxes above what China and Russia have, that's not the United States. And this idea that we can spend our way out of it and creating inflation, that is a coward's tax. And we've been doing it for 3 years now, where people's income is worth less and less compared to what the raises are getting. We pretend like we give them a raise, but we're actually taking away their money every week, every year. And you can see the price of inflation, another coward's tax.
Yeah.
The government is sucking the life out of families across the United States. It's entirely Biden's administration's fault. They're coming after us. We need to get rid of them now.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that, you know, he tries to blame Trump for everything, and yet people understand what all of that spending has meant and why inflation is where it is. They blame Joe Biden.
They should. He's the guy. He's the one that spent our way into oblivion. He's the one that has this coward's tax of inflation. He's the reason that your bank account doesn't mean as much, that your retirement cannot sustain you into the future, so you'll have to work longer. This is not what America was based on. The government doesn't get to be your standard of morality, decide what if somebody who's transgender is going to be moral, or if you're going to get a medical treatment from your doctor. The government shouldn't be our standard. We should never have to turn back to the government to solve the problem that the government created in the first place. He is so off track, so disconnected with American society,
Yeah.
and he needs to be replaced with President Trump now.
Congressman, good to see you this morning.